Welcome to the Visionary Spotlight. This is a monthly series highlighting business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are visionaries in their fields. They're leading their industries with a track record of excellence. In these conversations, we learn a few of the key steps on each visionary's road to success, how they grew the business, reached their best customers, and what they've learned along the way. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with Shawn Kent Hayashi. Shawn is an outstanding executive coach, consultant, and founder of the Professional Development Group. Shawn works with organizations of all sizes, big brands like American Express and eBay, as well as small family-owned businesses, where she develops inspiring leaders, builds high-performing teams, and creates great places to work. Now, I've also had the pleasure of working with Shawn myself as a client of mine over the years, and I have seen firsthand the incredible growth her clients experience when they commit to developing these skills together on their teams and with Shawn. So Shawn, welcome to the Visionary Spotlight. I'm so honored to have you here as my first guest.
Oh my goodness, Emily, I am so joyful to be doing this with you today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And of course, I could rave about you all day long, but why don't you tell us what you do? What is the Professional Development Group really known for?
So we work with organizations that want to develop inspiring leaders and a high-performing team culture. And so what that means is that our services include executive coaching, team coaching, retreats, high-performing team, workshops, training, all the things that support the kind of culture that makes an organization a place people want to work.
And I love that you work with both leaders. So you can sometimes work with one person in an organization, and you can work with a team, and sometimes you work with the entire organization. Yeah.
That's right. I feel very honored and blessed to be able to have the opportunity to work with my clients in a way that fully supports them as individuals, but also as teams. I work with a lot of family-owned businesses, but also very large corporate environments. And the work is in many ways the same. It's about helping the individual to understand their strengths, their own blind spots, and to learn new ways of collaborating, new ways of co-creating, creating great relationships.
So you said you work with both the individual and the team, and it's the same skills, whether it's a small, scrappy little startup or family-owned business or one of the huge brands you've worked with like TD Bank. And I've also heard you say that the same skills we use at the boardroom table are the same as those we use at the kitchen table. And so some of the skills you're developing are emotional intelligence, conflict resolution. Talk a little more about what those skills are.
Sure. So we help people to learn how to be great managers and leaders. And to your point, if I know how to do something in one domain of my life, I'm going to know how to do it in another domain of my life. So in my coaching work with clients, I say, we can talk about any window you want to talk about. We can talk about any frame you want to talk about, because if you've got a conflict going on at the kitchen table, and you need help, you need a framework for how to resolve it, it's going to show up in the same way at work. And our skills, our ability to navigate through conflict, our ability to solve complex problems, our ability to use our emotions to guide our actions in a healthy way, transcends every area of our lives.
Yeah, it really does. And it's so easy to see how when somebody really commits to developing those skills in themselves, they see incredible growth in whatever the little organization looks like, whether it's their life, their home, their team, or their whole organization. So it's really outstanding what it is that you're able to guide your clients to do.
In the last, I'll say, year and a half, we created a 12-module leadership management development curriculum that we've been working with clients. We use Zoom, we use individual tools to help clients have a common language around 12 specific beliefs that highly effective managers and leaders need And that's been very rewarding work to do over the last year plus with our clients as well.
It's really, I've seen this program, and it's a culmination of everything you do somehow organized into these 12 modules that just all click together, and you see the holistic view of these beliefs and mindsets, how they all affect each other. And when you sort of step into and own your ability to master those areas, you run the world.
So confidence, clarity, a sense of being able to be concise, it all falls into place when people put these 12 modules into action. Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of confidence, clarity, and things coming into place, you have been in business for, I think, over 20 years, 20 fabulous years. But I bet you've had a few iterations or inflection points along the way as you were growing your business. I would love to hear what's one or two of those spots, and what was a meaningful action you took to grow your business?
So the things that I've done to grow my business, I think one of the key pieces is to identify who is your audience, who do you serve best? And that was something that I had to look in the mirror around and really tease out for myself. Because if I've had the opportunity to work with a client who was starting a new business, and her response was, why can't we just serve everybody? And of course, that doesn't work so well. So getting crystal clear on what is the offering and who do you serve? And Emily, I know this is part of what you really help people to be able to do in a masterful way. But I think that is so important, putting the stake in the ground and committing to it.
So leaders who want to become inspiring, really fabulous leaders, and teams that are ready to stop messing around and start really high performing together as a team. And can be in a small business, can be in a large business, but that's what those audience members look like to you?
For me, my target customer is somebody who's really ready to grow. On an individual level, they're ready to grow their business, they're ready to grow their team, they are taking on perhaps big, hairy, audacious goals, or they realize that they are at that stage that if they can create a high-performing team where people authentically enjoy working together, it will create a ripple effect. They won't have retention problems as much. They won't have customer issues as much. It ends out solving lots of issues when people don't have that culture of high performance. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're really helping them get out of their own way when they decide they're ready to own where they're in their own way and clear it out. And yeah. Now I know that when you work with your clients, like you said, you often see side effects of the work that you do is employee retention, customer retention. Do clients ever come to you and say, we want to grow the business? And then you have to say, well, let's step back. Let's look at actually what needs to happen first.
Sure. So when clients come to me and say, I want to grow my business, and here's what that looks like, I'm able to say, all right, let's start off by getting very clear on what are your accountabilities as an organization. And so we identify those, and then we identify what are the accountabilities that fit together that create meaningful work, positions, roles where people can thrive. On more than one occasion, I've bumped into an organization that had an accountability profile for a role that no human being could do. And so part of it is helping founders, leaders, visionaries understand how to design roles where people can thrive.
Yeah. I bet people have some real head-scratching moments when they look at the organization or even their own role and think, oh, something here isn't fitting together, or I'm not fitting in this role, or I need to develop this skill to really make this accountability come alive.
Sure. You know, the foundation, the starting point in my coaching process with people, I have them take an assessment online. It takes them about 40, 50 minutes to complete the assessment, but it reveals to me and to them what their preferred communication style is, what their motivators are, what their hierarchy of competencies. So 25 competencies in a hierarchical order. It also helps me to understand their business acumen, their emotional intelligence. And so we get a really good understanding of who is this individual, who is this manager, leader, business owner. And then we optionally do a perceptual interview 360. So we identify who are the key stakeholders to creating success in your world. So as a visionary, as a business owner, as a leader, who are those people that their opinion, their experience of you is going to make a huge difference in your work? And I do the perceptual interview 360, and I talk to them about we'll make up a name, Sally's. What are Sally's strengths? What does she do particularly well? How does Sally add value to a team? What else does Sally do that makes a big difference for you in her service to you? And what would you like more of from Sally? What would you like less of from her? What's going on around her organizationally, culturally, politically that we need to be aware of? So I compile all of this into a report and use that with my coaching client to help them understand what it's like to be in a relationship with them. And from these two, the assessment and the 360, we're able to create an individual, personal, professional development plan that creates a focus then for our coaching work together. And it's amazing what we can accomplish in terms of skill building and capacity expansion over a 6-month or 12-month coaching engagement.
Oh my gosh. So between the assessment, which measures those 5 sciences, and then personal relationships this leader has with the key stakeholders to their success, what your client is coming to you saying, I need to work on this, and what you're seeing connecting all of those dots must be the most powerful roadmap to their success. And so no wonder your clients end up becoming inspiring leaders and building really high performing teams, and then trickling that through their organization and creating a great place to work so everybody is working in the right role, doing work that they enjoy, are great at, are valued at.
Well, that's the vision.
That's the vision. So those are your customers. That's their journey. At this stage, what have you found works best for you to reach those ideal customers?
So, Emily, I learned very early on in my work that referrals are the best way to generate new client relationships. Because when someone understands my work and then refers me to someone that they know, that's the best. And so for me, getting clear on how do I tee it up to help people have what they need to be able to refer me, that's really the best way for clients to come to me.
So what does that teeing up look like, other than just having the experience working with you, understanding how to articulate what the work was that you did with them and what the results were? Is that what it is, or is it also a more direct teeing up?
It can be several things. So it could certainly be a conversation with a person where I say something like, I'm really grateful for referrals, and I would appreciate you introducing me to anyone that you think would benefit from knowing me. But then the other piece of it, Emily, is the piece that you do, and that is you designed my website and helped to make sure that my website has the content on it, has the right language to engage people so that they can go check me out. It's making sure that the LinkedIn description online about me and the other members of our team fit together and has a brand message that aligns with what our promise is. So being able to articulate what we promise, what we deliver, having the tools that people who are referring us can reference the website, the LinkedIn profile, the newsletter that we send out once a month. The language in all of those needs to be concise, clear, focused, benefits oriented. And again, that's one of the huge benefits of what you've brought to me, is helping to make sure that all of that works very well.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. And I want to add, you are so generous with your expertise online. For example, you have a YouTube channel that is basically like self-guided coaching. Somebody could watch all of your YouTube videos and work with you as a coach and tackle almost any problem they have personally or in their organization, or at least have a really great place to start. So I know that you sort of informally subscribe to the idea of, you call it the layering effect, and it's also called something about 7, the rule of 7, where it, in marketing, it often takes 7 interactions, usually positive interactions with your brand, before there's a click and somebody wants to decide to take a next step. And you have really generously shared your expertise and insight in lots of different places: your social media, your newsletter, your YouTube channel. You're often speaking, maybe not in present day circumstances, but you're often on a stage somewhere. And so in addition to just doing great work that leads to great referrals, I think you've really built a very organic and helpful marketing support system that enables people to just gracefully bump into you 7 times and have a really positive experience. And I know that probably helps to connect dots here and there along the way. But of course, doing great work and having great referrals is such a shortcut to great clients.
Yes. Well, and I can imagine the people who are visionary leaders who are attracted to your work, particularly those who are just starting out. I encourage them to make a list of the people that you know who know your work really well, and to contact them and share what you're doing. Get them involved in helping you be successful. And that makes a difference, because then people are able to do those referrals that I was mentioning.
Yeah, tell people what you do so that they know. Always a great strategy. Yeah.
And invite them to refer you. That's a big piece of it, because a lot of times people are afraid to ask others for referrals. But when you've had someone who verbalizes that they've appreciated the contribution that you've made to them, it's perfectly appropriate for you to say, thank you so much for that acknowledgement. If you know others who would benefit from working with me, please send them my way. Make it easy for people to do that.
I love that. So thinking about now, sort of more specific marketing experiments. I'm using the word experiment because that's one of the things you like to do. Is I think a lot of business owners get stuck. They've got the big picture idea, and then there's lots of little details to figure out. And sometimes they don't even get the idea off the ground because they get so stuck in getting it perfect the first time. And raising my hand for that, it's hard. But you're so game to really get going and learn. You have such a great growth mindset. So I would love to know, what are some of the experiments you've really enjoyed that turned out to be valuable investments in your marketing and growth?
Well, first, thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. And you're right. I like to say, let's experiment for 30, 60, or 90 days with something. And so we might experiment with doing something specific in our newsletter, or doing something specific with our postings on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. We've experimented with the best ways to put content out that represents our brand to see what lands well with people. We've experimented with giving away or offering something. So maybe it's an assessment, or maybe it's an opportunity to talk with me by phone. some of those things I think have also been helpful. But you've guided me in a lot of those experiments. So you've suggested many of those experiments that we've done, and I'm always game to explore and see where we get new results. I think the key is to recognize what are the results, what are the outcomes that we want, and now what are the steps that are likely to get us in that direction, but to keep evolving based on new trends, things that are going on in the world.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about you, because you are able to change. And just because an idea's got forward movement doesn't always mean it's moving forward in the way that it needs to be. And so you're happy to pivot and experiment in new ways. And I think that serves you really well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's switch gears a tiny bit and talk about your top priorities for building a great team and culture. And I know you have a great team of consultants who work with you at the Professional Development Group, but of course, this is also the work you do for your clients. So I'd love to hear what you imagine the top priorities for that experience to look like.
So the first thing that comes to mind when I hear you ask that question is just the power of the assessment that we use to understand an individual's preferred communication style, motivators, their current competencies, because we need to go where the other person is. In other words, we need to start with what we've got in front of us, right? And then the next piece is to authentically design the key accountabilities for a role, for a team, based on people's strengths. So I'm all about how do we play to an individual's strengths? How do we set up a dynamic that helps to cover their blind spots? One of the things I've been so grateful to you for is when we first started working together, I was able to explain to you, these are some of my strengths, but these are some of my blind spots. And part of the reason why I need you to play the role that I need you to play is to help me cover these blind spots of mine. And you are masterful at doing that with me. And then we put other people in place in the team based on what the needs are and what the evolving needs are. As you said, we've worked together now for coming
Almost
up on
6 years.
6 years. And so as a result, you and I and other team members that we work with have evolved it based on people's growth and based on somebody might come in and spend 2 or 3 years with us and they grow dramatically themselves, and then they want to try something else and take on something in a new way. And we have to be able to work with that, adapt to that, and keep that focus on what are our norms, what are the norms around which we are designing our team culture. And make sure that we stick with them and that we continue to grow and evolve them as well.
I love that.
I think the other piece too, Emily, is making sure that people have a common language about the context of what it means to be a team together, what it means to pass the baton back and forth and authentically collaborate. And we do a very good job of that, and we teach our clients how to do that.
How does that look when you're teaching a client and their team that common language? Because you may begin with working with one leader, and so it may be their job to help create a common language across their team, or you may be coming in leading a team retreat, ongoing training with the team. How does that look that you're establishing that culture?
You're right. It starts with often individual coaching, and it evolves into leading team training and team retreats where people can learn the skills, the language, the mindsets that help create that kind of collaboration. And we custom design our experiences with our clients based on what they need. So while we have an agenda for a 2-day high-performing team retreat, much of that content gets customized based on the size, the group, the scope. We may end up leading a retreat in 2-hour increments over several months via Zoom. Or we may do a half-day retreat in person and 2 weeks later come back and do the next half day. So the content, again, remains the same and is carried through, but the way in which we deliver can be adjusted entirely to the needs of an individual, a team, and a business.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've seen how deeply that affects how people work together, how they collaborate, communicate, how they resolve conflict. Yeah, it's really powerful. Thinking about that, I know that one of the things you're focused on with clients right now is how leaders can effectively bring teams back together in the office after an unprecedented year of working remotely. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what that adventure looks like.
Yes, well, in the same way that last March, we all experienced a huge change in the way we work together. It's been a year and we've gotten some new norms, expectations set up around how we work. And so as my clients are wanting employees to come back into the workplace and work in person with each other, there are a variety of things that we can do to tee that up to help it be successful. I'll give you a couple of examples. So with one of our clients, we hosted a picnic to invite people to come back into the office space and have some fun together. We did a treasure hunt to help them identify each other's accountabilities and where the baton handoffs are. We tend to make our activities very work focused while still having fun with it. So we can put a framework around something as being a treasure hunt when it's work related. So I believe that we need to do things to honor people's needs and expectations. Not everyone is able to get the COVID shot. Not everyone wants to come back into the workplace in the way that we were working before. So we have to really tease out who's who in this mix. I have a 25-year-old son who really loves working in his office. And while he worked in an organization on a floor in a high-rise building in Philadelphia that had 100 people in it prior to COVID, once COVID hit, he was all of a sudden one of 5 or 6 people who came into the office every day. And so we have to look at where are people. Like, he clearly wants to work in the office, while there are other colleagues that don't want to work in the office. So somebody, the leader, someone in the leadership team has to suss out who's who in this mix. And we also have to look at which roles are required to be in the office for some business reason. There may be roles where you have to be in the office in order to perform well in this role. Mm-hmm. And there will be other roles where that's not the case. And so there's a couple of months probably of work here, depending on the size of your team, getting these pieces figured out and how do we put the puzzle pieces back together. Some of my clients, for example, are saying we want 20% of the office people to come back in on a Monday. We want another 20% to come in on a Tuesday. So we don't intend to come back with everybody in the office all the time. Like, that's not their vision. A lot of my clients are moving to a completely different setup. So rather than having people in a bull pit where they're all sort of on top of each other, it's figuring out how to move people around so that they have more space between them. It's also, I think, very important for organizations to stagger the start back. No matter how you look at it, giving people the space and time to reorient their personal lives. As you know, I have dogs, I have puppies, and there are a whole bunch of people who got new puppies or pets during this period, and those are used to being with somebody all day long, and we treat them like our babies, our children. So it's figuring out new accommodations in that way. I know, for example, your adorable little Rosie goes to doggy daycare sometimes, and People are going to have to figure out new support systems that enable them to do their jobs based on the shift in what's expected for their role as they start to go back into the workplace.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well,
We,
first,
we do a retreat that is very exciting to watch the impact that it has as this is happening. One of the activities in the retreat is a game. It's a card game. And as people are playing the game, part of the aha is that people have different norms, people have different expectations. And then we're able to tease out from that experience of playing that game what the different expectations are that people have in going back into the workplace. And how can we work in a way that's high performing, respectful, supportive of people so that they can thrive. So retreats, activities, very specific assignments, checking in with people about what their individual and group needs are. This is all part of what will go into a plan for bringing people back into the workplace.
earlier you mentioned working on big, hairy, audacious problems. And I mean, that's what a lot of businesses are experiencing now. But of course, we know that when we're solving problems, we're actually creating opportunities. And so, you had mentioned there are a lot of norms that just aren't going to be norms anymore. And so it sounds like working with everyone to figure out what do they value, what do they need, what's going to work best, and create a whole new set of norms and hopefully possibilities and opportunities. But whew, what a job that sounds like.
Yes. Well, and it goes back to one of those modules in our management and leadership development process, that if we begin to see conflict as the source of future wealth and innovation, we're not afraid of conflict then. And there are many conflicts that are going to emerge as a result of the process of people going back into the workplace. And if we allow those conflicts to work through them, talk through them, we'll build more trust. We don't really trust people until we know how they resolve conflict. And it's conflict that creates new products, new services, new ways of generating businesses, and it's actually phenomenal. So I really strongly encourage people to take on and embrace identifying conflicts, getting solutions focused, learning the skills to do that.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I will just say that again for people who need to hear it. Conflict is the source of future innovation and wealth. Is that it?
I say that constantly to my clients, and let's dig into it. Let's figure out what the opportunities are. With clients, I help them to create an opportunities for improvement list. In other words, where are those places that you're feeling really frustrated, annoyed, whatever? Let's call it the opportunities for improvement list, and let's focus on it that way. And by saying, what would great look like? What could we turn this into that makes something even better than it already was? When we come at it from that mindset, that's when we see future wealth, future innovation, budding, blooming, good things happening.
Oh, what an amazing reframe. So thinking about reframing, my next question is, what's one thing you wish you'd learned sooner as an entrepreneur? But maybe we'll reframe that and say, what's one thing you're so glad you learned?
So this is an important question, because when I first became an entrepreneur and started running my own business, about a year into it, I had this realization that I was feeling lonely. I was feeling intellectually and emotionally lonely. And I needed to surround myself with a team and with like-minded people. And, this is the inspiration, if you will, for ensuring that I had people that I really click with, that I could talk to regularly. And as you know, I like to have a meeting with the people who work with me on my team, even the independent contractors who are working with me on my team, because it helps to offset that sense of being alone, having to do it by myself. So finding your handful of kindred spirits and making it okay to really share authentically what's going on with you, where you're struggling, what your needs are, what you want to do next. Making it a safe space to talk about those kinds of things. I think that's really important.
Oh yeah, I really, really feel that. And I felt that about 6 years ago. And yeah, figured that out myself too, just being around people, like you said, really being able to authentically share my experience. And not everybody's a business owner, and it's a very unique experience to be facing those challenges and opportunities. And so I really appreciate the community of people around me who get those challenges, and it's fun to share, fun to learn from them. That's part of the reason I'm having conversations like this. Is it's just this community is, we all have so much wisdom, and it's really fun to share what we've learned. It's really fun to workshop challenges we're having, and it's just nice to know we've got buddies on the ride with us.
Indeed. Yes.
So tell me, outside of work, what are some of your, and maybe this can include work, what are some of your favorite non-negotiable ingredients for living a good life?
Oh, wow. The first one that comes to mind is I am one of those people who needs 8 hours of rest. I need sleep. Yeah. And so if I don't get enough sleep, it's very hard to be happy, and it's very hard to be on my game and really great at what I do. So when I build my 168-hour-a-week plan, I'm getting enough sleep and rest and eating well, because I know there's a correlation between what I eat and how I feel and how I can perform. And I want to be on my game every day. So getting enough rest and eating well, those are foundational.
And I happen to know that you make some of the best healthy green smoothies in the world. And in fact, you've inspired me to add a new smoothie recipe to my daily repertoire. So thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. I have a new one. I have a pumpkin smoothie that's really good. Sometime you'll have to come over and try that one.
I would love to. I love pumpkin. All right. So second to last question here. Tell us what's next for you. What are you really excited about that's on the horizon for you right now?
So what am I really excited about? It's bringing more opportunities for organizations to build great places to work, helping leaders to become more inspiring and to share and teach those skills to the people that work with them, for them, on their teams. Because the more that happens, the more we expand love and joy in the world. And so watching as we, through our work, seed people thriving in their work, people experiencing love and joy, you can feel it when an individual, a team, and a company operate from that level. And so what's next for me is just continuing to grow that and evolve, both for myself and for my clients.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for doing that work in the world. We need it. We need the ripple effect that happens when people are just thriving. We need more of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Emily. I'm so excited about the adventure that you're on and what you're creating in the world. Good work.
Oh, thank you. Finally, why don't you tell us where people can find and follow you for some of that, as I call it, the shot of Shawn?
So our website is theprofessionaldevelopmentgroup.com. And so notice it's got the word the, T-H-E, at the beginning, theprofessionaldevelopmentgroup.com. And then my email address is Shawn, so it's Shawn, S-H-A-W-N, at Professional Development Group. And my direct phone number is 215-588-1188. So if someone would like to connect with me, I'd be happy to do so.
Perfect. And I'll make sure those are linked in the description below so people can just get in touch with you. I love that. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for sharing your experience and insight with us. You are so inspiring, and this has been very illuminating. So thank you.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm cheerleading for you and your success, and we will say to be continued.
Yes, to be continued. So to stay in touch with Shawn in the Professional Development Group and be the first to see future visionary spotlights, click the links below to follow us. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until next time.